All right, so I'm back. You can see what time it is and what day it is. Oh, maybe not the day. There's the day. Okay, so that's the day. So, cool thing was yesterday, mail came. I had a mail call, which is great because I got my little windows. And the other thing that's happening right now, I'm gonna go nice and slowly over there. If you look out my window, there's actually sunshine. So what I need to try to do is get these guys set up so that I can then put these sides on and then go paint this whole thing primer so that I can get it ready to be painted and weathered and all the other fun stuff that goes with that. Okay, this is probably going to be a little bit difficult to see. I will try to do my best to make this work. But so we're going to put on the second half of all of these levels, and you can see here wherever I got the black at, that's where windows are going to be. I got my windows in. The cool thing is, with the exception of this window here, I don't know if you guys see that window there, that's a single window. The rest of them are all double windows. But the first thing I'm going to do is cut this one out because it will set the tone for others to come. Right? Get a little bit of overhang going. Oh, there it is. And so I've gotten all kinds of things that I got to do here. Okay, so that guy fits in there like that. All right, so if I'm going to do the overhang, I don't know if you guys can see this. If I do the overhang, this hangs out way far, so it won't go up against this. Just because I'd have to cut a notch into there. So what we're going to do then is we'll go ahead and cut this piece out and get it done along with that piece there. So this is where we just start kind of piecing parts together, which is gonna be fun. See, because then once we get that, then we can get this one in here, which will work. Even though I don't have that one, maybe I don't want as big an overlap as I think I did. Maybe I do want to put them up next to one another. So let's try that instead. We'll just do some trimming. No, trimmed off way too much. Of course I did. Because it only takes a little bit to trim off. Okay, we just really got to trim that much. Now, of course, there's a couple of ways to do this. You could do it by measuring, but I'm just going to cut them in there. Nice thing about this is kind of rough work anyway. So if we keep it sort of rough, it'll fit right in with the way the building is. And then I've got some surprise things to do. So there we go. That'll fit right in there like that. Awesome. So now that's our first little stick, right? Now the big thing is we got to keep moving. Got a little bit of things to do, and we got a whole lot of cutting to do. So, got to keep putting the lid on the Eileen's. It's getting down there, so I got to make sure I turn it upside down and put it in that way. Okay. And then, you know, actually you do want to see some kind of roughness in some cases. See, so now this will fit right in there nicely, right? Because we've got to take that angle. And of course, the bad thing is it's not gonna want to play nicely. Why would it? Nothing ever does. Pencil. So now I can just come up here, take this piece, pencil mark, get that right up into that corner. Should be enough marks. So Jack wanted to make sure that we were actually doing this. It's like, well, I don't know how else you do a scratch build, especially on a specific type of building, without doing the real cutting. But he wanted to see some cutting, so I'll give him some cutting. And I might be able to use this for the other side. Perhaps not, though, because the other side is taller. This stuff is a little bit harder to work with because it is ribbed. So we've got to get the ribs in there right. And so I'm doing exactly what they would do almost on site, with the exception of I'm not putting in little 5-foot boards. I'm just putting these in as we go. That's gonna be pretty good right in there. Yeah, you see I gotta trim that guy a little bit. It's okay, because I've got corner trim that's got to go in on all of these. Don't forget. There's still that. So, just like in the real world, how do you make nice corners? It's all about trim. No carpenter's gonna make a really good corner. That's why we have trim. Okay, and I'll take that out. Now, have all the fun of putting in the windows. And the cool thing is, like what's happening with this one, it's not the same. I'm not going all the way up and down the same. So you're gonna see that there's a difference and that there's a line, which is what I wanted to do. Besides just, you know, putting in a line or striking a line in there, it's kind of better to have it done. And then again, yeah, this doesn't quite meet right up to the roof line, but that's what trim's for. Again, correct? That's what we do. Now, mind you, some of this would have been a lot easier had I already had everything, but I didn't. So, because I didn't have everything, and I'm a little bit behind, I already put the building together, so we'll just do with it the way that we got to. Now, one of the nice things, which kind of worked out in my favor for a change, which on this build it hasn't been lately, is that all the trim is white. So I may be able to get away with not having to trim or not having to paint the trim, due to the fact that most of the trim I'm going to use is going to be white plastic. That saves me a little bit. You know, the funny thing is none of this is easy. You'd think it would be, but it's not. Don't even know if you guys can see me cutting. Yeah, I'm just out of the shot. Let me go back in a little bit more. Part of this is I'm more concerned about getting the cuts right than I am about getting the video right. I don't have all the fancy smancy things that a lot of other people have. I don't have the overhead camera and the video cam so I can see where I'm at. I'm mostly doing this on my phone. That's also why a lot of times I try not to edit. I know there's a lot of people who go through and edit and all that, but people say, oh, you know, I want to see the mistakes and all. I saw my mistake the other day. I do a minimum amount of editing. I need to. Sometimes it is just, you know, you guys don't want to see me repetitively cut things over and over and over again when I got to do 100 cuts or something like that. But this one, we're kind of doing this live so that, one, I can record it, and two, you guys can see what I'm doing. Now the windows are really kind of fun, and one of the reasons why I waited so long to get the windows, well, part of it was the mail, but I needed to get the right ones. I tried a couple of different ones and they just weren't right. Now the funny thing is remember, this building was built in the 1800s or 1900s. Well, actually the late 1800s. So there we go. That's going to fit right in there. Again, we're going to trim around those edges because I missed it just a little. Yeah, that'll be fine. Oh, he did fall off. That's a little bit of a difference. Stay in there. Okay. Hopefully I don't have to stop and get new glue. Get my drink out of the way. It's going to be nice after I retire, like everybody else that wants to do all this stuff. I really want to retire and make sure that I have a nice working table, because this space is just not enough for me. You wonder what I'm doing. The biggest thing that I'm doing is going back and looking at photos. That's one of the big things about scratch building. You got to go back and look at the photos that you took all the time. Yeah, I told you guys I took a drive down there. And so I did take lots of photos of where I'm at. I'm not taking, again, because I've already shrunk this down, I'm not taking photos of absolutely everything that I did. So I got to figure out where the windows are going to line up. And I don't have that picture on this. I have it on the phone that I'm recording with. So I will be back. Oh. All right, we're going to go back. So I went and took a look at the pictures. And as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The window that I have to put in is at the same height as this door. This window is well over the door. So there's two different places that I got to do the window at. So 2 different windows, 2 different places. Again, I wish I had more room. This is only a 4-foot table. And if I just had more room this way, I could throw things around. It'd be a lot easier. And then I got you guys watching too, so that doesn't help me any. Okay, so how do we do this? First of all, got to go into my goodie bag, which is here. Come on. Okay, the goodie bag are things that are going to go on a little bit later. Okay, so this establishes my line across so that I know where the bottom of this is going to be. So you can see that the bottom is going to be just a little bit up. And yes, this door is not at the same height as these, and it's not supposed to. There's supposed to be a bunch of air below here. And then the funny thing is, there's a big like drop off over here too. So there's a hump that comes over here because this is at road height, and then it comes up a little bit more, and then it comes down and make a big bump over here. So it's kind of funny. I have to take the consideration of the terrain, even though the terrain is not right in my build right at this time. So what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Okay. As always, the things that I actually need are never within reach. Oh. All right, we'll use a piece of this tape. If I can get it off. Come on. Difference between scratch building and kit building, right? With a scratch build or a kit bash, you have to figure out where everything's at. Now again, could have made fun, neat little measurements and all. But where's the fun in that? Okay. So my first measurement to take is where's the top of the door going to be? Top of the door. It's going to be there. Strike that line. Okay. It's the first line we got to do. It's one of the most important. Now, next thing we got to do. Got to take these two guys. I was actually going to try to glue all of these together, but they decided that they didn't want to. So I didn't get to do that. Take these two guys. Come on. Tape them together. Do this. Okay, now these are Tichy windows, so one of the things you got to understand with the Tichy windows is they actually do have cutouts so that they sit in nicely. So when I go to cut this, I've got to make sure that I am inside the lines, and in that way my windows will come out exactly where I want them to come out at. So we'll start on this top section. Inside that top line. Okay, didn't cut it all the way down because I couldn't see that side. It's okay. All right, I've got to admit, one of the things I can tell you about this JTT stuff, it's a lot softer than your evergreen styrene. So there's a good thing and a bad thing about that. The good thing is that means that it's much easier to cut with. I can get my knife in there, I can cut it down fairly easily, and it works really nicely. Okay, the bad thing is that means it doesn't have that much strength. So in order for me to use this effectively, I do have to have that whole backer system that you see that I have, right? With the Plastruck, even with their molded items and things like that, those things are usually at like 0.4 or something and are easily to stand up on their own. These, I would not trust building a building out of this without putting lots and lots of bracing inside. So just a little food for thought, little advice. But for this type of work, this JTT stuff is really great. If you've done a lot of scratch building and you've used the evergreen or you've used the Plastruck, one of the hardest things to do is get good interior cuts. It's easy to do the interior cuts because it's such a soft plastic. So you don't have to really retch in there. Okay. There's the cut. I'm so hoping that most of this was in frame. one window. Okay, so remember, we cut it on the wrong side just to make sure. And two window. So I actually have a lot more cutting to do, but my width is good. My width is very good. It's my height that I got to do some more work with. Okay. Yep. So you see, I got these two in there. There's not much play back and forth, so we're good there. But I do got to take a little bit more off the height. Normally I would sand, but this is a decent amount of sanding I'd have to do. So we're not doing that. Now the other thing that's going to be funny is you're going to see me not put these windows in. All I'm doing is doing the cuts. All right, why is that? Well, I'm going to go and I got to prime this whole thing. See how easy that cut out? Hope that wasn't too much. Now, any cut after this is just going to be too much, so I would just go to the sanding. So let's see how this all works. So we got our one window. Goes in on that side. Fits wonderful. Got our second window. Come in over here. There we go. Two windows. How's that look to you guys? So let's look at what it's going to look like when we put it up, because we're gluing this sucker in, except for the windows. All right, back to my Eileen's. That piece is back on. That's good. The other thing nice about Eileen's, I don't know if I told you guys this, but it dries clear. So even if I put it where the windows are and get it in that area, you're not going to see it when it's done. Okay? Now, there's two reasons why I'm not putting the windows in. Okay? One reason is because I got to paint this. I got to at least primer this, right? So that I can do the rest of the work on it. Okay. Oops, sorry. There we go. Let's get that all down. Now remember, even when they did this, these guys, when they put this building together and all that, they did it with a farm style. So what that means is that they weren't worried about it looking great. It was more the functionalness of the building. Okay, so there we go. So now what are the windows going to look like? Once we put the windows in, the windows will go up there. And a lot of these windows are dark or broken or covered over anyway, because it's years and years. And they use the windows, obviously, for lights. So that's what we're going to do with all the windows. So we're going to do that all the way around. You can see that this kind of goes up easy, and then I will put on the trim and stuff like that as I need it. The only thing that I'm going to do is wind up, like, you know, taping over all of these so that I don't hit those with paint and primer. Okay, so we're going to finish this off, and I'll give you guys a video tour once we get that done, because this is a long video now. Okay, made a little measuring jig for my windows, so now I can go ahead and put this up there where my windows are going to be, strike the lines, and go ahead and cut the sucker out. And that'll make my windows go a lot faster. Okay, so Jack won't let me use any plastistruck, but Rick's pieces on my build. But the problem is part of my building has to be done that way. So here's a way to do it. Now, the first thing is the aluminum foil that I have, or another piece of metal that you get or something like that. It's got to be the heavy duty. You can't just use the crappy stuff. You got to get the heavy duty, because if you don't get the heavy duty, it won't hold its shape. Basic eraser. Hold it between the two areas. A lot of people, you can go ahead and tape this down or whatever. And then you just take your eraser and then slide it on down. And then it makes a nice, great impression of exactly what's underneath it. And it holds it that way too. So, you're asking why I'm doing this. Well, I've got some places that I actually have to use this. Another thing that's really cool about this with the aluminum foil is that you can bend, unlike the plastic, where if I needed to do a bend or if I needed to make it look different or something like that, or crumple it up, I would have to really try hard to make the pieces work. And just a piece of... so the pieces that I actually have to make, some of them are crunched up, some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. So you can't really bend up the plastic, but you can bend this stuff because it doesn't care. So that way I get dents and I get all of the things that I need into it. So just wanted to kind of show you guys that. That's my... And then another thing that you could do, if you wanted to, if you wanted the nice shiny roof or something like that, where aluminum is really hard to paint, you could just use these. And then you could also use them as loads or something like that. You could cut them to the right size and use them as loads. So I've got my my things cut, and I got to go attach them to where they need to be attached. All right, now that all the walls are done, look, see, wall. You can tell the wall's there because you can see the black through the white. Now it's time to get this last section of roof done. This was the first part that has to be done, where the roof in the front is square on that side. And you can see here, I even brought the wall over just like it's supposed to be. So it's square on the front, square on the one side. Then it dipped down. Okay, then they built the rest of this building on. So the way that I had to figure out that angle, once again, ta-da, come to the rescue, aluminum foil. So what I did was I was able to put the aluminum foil up there as a square. And then I was able to run a pencil down the line of it so that I could get the angle. Then I just came out here, set the angle up, and cut it on the paper. Now, my next one is going to be harder. If you notice, see how the brown paper's there? It comes all the way out there? Yeah, well, the roof goes from here, just like this, all the way into there, and then meshes right into the old one. So it actually then starts taking off that way. So I'm going to have to use aluminum foil again to figure out what this angle is to make it so that the roof looks all the same. And then I'm noticing I may have to cut a hole in there for the wires, because I was going to tie those two wires together, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like each one of them is going to have their own, or else these two wires will go through this hole, that one will go through its own hole. But I have actually already got a hole cut there, so I think we'll put in one hole for each wire, and then that'll be wired in there. And then I have to get a light for the back as well. So let's see what the back looks like right now. You guys didn't get to see the end of that. Yeah, I kind of busted this off when I was working, so got to work that next too. So here's what the back looks like. And yeah, I've got some trimming to do after these dry up for the day. But it's pretty much, everything is pretty much finished on this, except for that one little section of roof. And then I can paint this and start putting the rest of it together and making some fun stuff. All right, that's my update. Thanks for watching. Steve 87th for the Jack Scratch build. Okay, I had called it quits, but I came back in and finished off the roof section. So that's on there. Let's see here. I got that all cut in. I got that little section I just got to figure out. Oh yeah, I worked a little bit on the back, putting in some extra details. It's all going to be painted. Got that all fixed up and did some windows. So it's all coming along. Put in another hole there for another light. So The building is ready for paint and then trim.